Hello and welcome to another Bodgit and Leggit video. Now today we are doing back shoes, back cylinders and handbrake cables on a 2005 Freelander, Land Rover Freelander. Now as you can see, we've got kind of a lot of rust on here. What we need to do is we need to get the actual hub off, and as you can see we've got two Phillips screws. Now they look very rusty and we need to get them off because otherwise we can't get the hub off. So the best thing to do is wire brush them, but I'm not going to use a hand wire brush because it's just, well, it takes forever and it's not as good. So I'm going to use one on a drill because it's easier for me. Now we can see them lovely screws. I'm just going to go around here because it has to actually slide off here. So now you don't just want to get a Phillips screwdriver and to try and take these off, because the chances are you're going to round these, you're going to break them. So what you need to do, you can get an impact screwdriver. I have one of them, but I don't want to show you it because you can use an old Phillips screwdriver. You don't need to spend the money on an impact screwdriver. But what you do need to do is get some sort of screwdriver you can hit. And if I was to try and turn that, the chances are I'm going to round that and it's not going to come out. So what I'm going to do is put the screwdriver in and I'm going to hit the end of it, which will shock it, just like an impact gun does to take off wheel nuts and stuff. And I should be able to, as I'm hitting it, I'm going to turn my hand to twist it, and it should just come off really easy. And as we can see, it's come off lovely. Do the same with this one. And there we go. Try and do it any other way, you're going to cause problems. Now this could be an issue trying to take it off. If we've got a big lip on the actual hub, it's going to get caught on the discs on the shoes and it's not going to come off very easy. So we have to be careful on how we do this. We have to try and get it off. These can come off really easy or they can take ages to get off. You can slacken the handbrake cable and that will allow it to come in, and hopefully that'll give you a better chance. We are replacing the handbrake cables, so we have to slacken them anyway. But what I'm going to do first is just literally get the hammer and I'm just going to hit it around the corners and kind of on here, and hopefully the shock will take it off. Doesn't always work, but it kind of works, say 85% of the time. One thing you definitely want to do is when you're hitting anything like this is wear goggles, because all these bits are going to flick up and if they get in your eye you're in trouble, so you really do want to wear goggles. Now that has, as we can see, it's come loose, but we're getting stuck. So this might not work. What I'm guessing is there's a big lip on the inside of this which is getting caught with the shoe, and I'll show you it when we get it off. You can sometimes kind of wedge it out, but you have to be careful you don't do damage. That's a bit too big, that one. You want to be careful when you're leaving it too, because this back plate you can bend and break, which you don't want to do. The back plate on this is quite strong, so we might be able to just kind of wiggle this all the way around. Just kind of take your time, but I can see from here now that we're catching the shoe, so that's not a good sign. But if I lever it out and hit it, we might knock the shoe back in, which we don't. Now, this is the problem with this type of setup. This side is free, but this side is getting caught. Because what we have to be careful is all the little clips. Now again, we're replacing the clips, but if you're not, when you're leaving these out, you can break the clips, you can do all sorts. So you do have to be careful. We just have to take our time, go around, and hopefully it will. Now half the shoe has come out and the other half is stuck. This is just one of them that is just going to be a nightmare. And I'm not too bad because, like I said, I'm replacing the little pins and the springs, so I'm not worried about them. But I would prefer it to come off a lot easier than this. I've got a slightly bigger lever now. Doesn't want to play ball. Right. Well, it's off. Now, as you can see, this came off. Now, we might have done a little bit of damage, but as you can see, it was very rusty, so it was coming off anyway. It wasn't, we didn't do all that. We maybe did some of it, but not all of it. But again, we're not worried because we're replacing everything. So we're replacing new shoes, we're replacing these clips, these springs. We're basically replacing everything. A couple of ways of doing this now. You can take pictures on your phone or something so you know where all the springs go, you know, where all the clips go, because there's a few of them, and if you're not used to it, it can be very easy how you can get them muddled up. The other thing you can do is you can strip the far side, leave one side on, take off this side completely, and then work from the far side. There's a couple of different ways of doing it. I personally like to completely take them off, if possible, as one unit, build them on the bench, and then slot them back as one unit. It's just, it can be, not all the time, but most of the time it can be easier. So what I'm going to try and do is remove this clip, this little spring clip here. Which doesn't want to come off. Now again, I'm replacing it, so I just want to get it off. That's well in there. This does not want to come off. Now, it's not the best way of taking it off, but like I said, we're replacing it, so we don't really care. This one, well, I don't know what's happened to this one. It doesn't seem to be there, so it's either missing, got broke, or it was never put on. So just as well we get in the actual clip set, because that should be there. So we're getting new of these pins, new clips, new springs, new everything. And like I said, just as well because of this side. Right. On the top we're hooked on by the actual cylinder. So as you can see, hooked on by the cylinder. So that's now, well, that came off because of the way the actual hub came off. And on the bottom, we're hooked by these two little flanges. So I'm just going to unhook them. The spring is keeping the pressure together. So I just have to wedge this in here, tension the spring up, and now we should be more or less off. Now, again, what I do like to do on some of them, I don't know if we can do it on this one, is I like to take off the inner part here, but on this one, I'm not going to. It's just not as easy as the others, and we could cause problem with the bearing inside here. So I'm not going to do it that way. If I have to strip this, so be it. On some of them, like the Golfs and stuff, it's easy just to take this out. You've got a lot more room, you can put it back in. You're not trying to work in behind this. But on this one, I can't do it without causing me problems, so I'm just going to leave it. But we might just... Well, I just found the other clip. So that came off. Now, I don't know if I did it, to be honest, when we was pulling it off. It's a possibility. But there's the other clip. Now we might just get away with this. I don't think we're going to get away with it putting it back on, but we might get away with it taking it off. I suppose another thing you could possibly do is take out the cylinder first, give you a little bit more room, but we still have other problems apart from that. I'm going to take off the bottom clips because if I take off the bottom clips, we should be able to stretch it around. That's the plan. We'll soon find out. Now, for a long time, for ages, or for every day really, I hate doing shoes because of the springs. They're really tensioned hard. They're annoying to get on. The pliers seem to fly off everywhere. It's really annoying. I came across these a few months ago. Now, I've never seen them for sale before. These are like the special brake pliers. Now they're from Snap-on, but I've never seen any company make these. I think, I could be wrong, they're just for the American market. These came from America. But they should work. I think they do work better on bigger shoes, but they should work. We've got, I'll show you anyway, there's basically 4 tools in one. You've got 2 tools here, and you've got, well, 3, sorry, and you've got a tool here. This should open and close the springs, and the other type of springs, we've got these springs that go across. Some springs come up in a V in the middle, and that's what these tools are for. Essentially, what we should be able to do is hook this around the spring. I think this is how it works. I'm not 100% sure, to be honest. We can hook it around anywhere, and hold this and literally squeeze it like a pair of pliers, which it does. Oh, look at that. Problem is, this is just so brittle. The rust that's in that, it's falling apart. Let's try and get it in here, because it is designed to go in there. It's a bit trickier than I thought, to be honest. It grabs it. I'm just maybe not used to it properly. There'll be a lot of Americans now screaming at me because I'm doing it wrong. Is that it? New. No, is that it? It's unhooking it. I just can't unhook it and twist it off at the same time. There we go. God, I love them. And also, you can hook it back round. I'll do it here. And then, I'll just give you an idea. And then you can actually put it back on. That's funny looking pliers, but they work. Like I said, I don't know. I think they're more for the American market. I don't think they really suit these, but it's still gonna help me, I think. So we're just gonna have to do it. This little clip shouldn't be much tension on that. Normal pliers should just be able to, yeah, unclip that. Out of the way. That should now hopefully release this side, yeah, which it does. That's what I wanted. This, I think, is separate. Yeah. Now, I think we've got a problem here. This is all seized. I think that's supposed to move. We don't get that with the new brakes, but I'm sure that's seized. So we're going to have to take that off and get that working properly. But as you can see now, we should be able to, a bit of wiggle, yeah, take that off. And we've got it more or less intact. So what we can do is we can build this on the bench like that and just put the bottom clip back together. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to leave this on the bench. Now we've got wrong parts of this. The cylinders have come wrong and we need to get these clips. So this is not going to be done today, but that's maybe not a bad thing as such, because I've got to free out this. So I'm going to leave this and the far side in WD overnight, and that will give us the best chance to free this up. What I will do first is I'll put it on the wire wheel just to take the heavy rust off, and then I'll literally leave these two ends in WD-40 overnight soaking, and hopefully by the morning then this should be really free. That's the plan. So we should be able to take this off, and the way you take that off is just pull, so compress the spring, and this should then slide out the gap. I don't know if I'm showing that properly. Yeah, there we go. So you compress the spring and it slides out the little gap right there. Now, maybe this doesn't move. I don't know, to be honest. It looks like it should move. Yes, it should definitely move. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to, with the wire brush wheel, you can do it by hand, or you can do it on the bench grinder, or you can even do it with the drill I had. I'm going to knock off most of the rust first, and then I'm going to actually, you can maybe see it a bit better there now. I'm going to knock off most of the rust first, and then I'm going to actually just leave it in WD-40 just to here in a container, and that should then free it up. And in the morning when I get the new parts, bang them on, and yeah, we're sorted. Now we've got a lot of cleaning to do. We need to clean all the crap off here. You can see there's contact pads. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And you need to put a little bit of copper grease on there. It just stops it from kind of squeaking. But before we do that, obviously, we need to give this a good clean. No point me showing. I'm just going to wire brush it. I'm going to put spray a load of brake clean on it and just blow it with air. That's really as simple as it. Now, I did the other side, and what I noticed with these pliers, what you need to do is, this is the part that hooks onto or into the actual brake. You need to get this hook around it like that. So essentially, it's essentially like that. And then this side here, oh, I've just dropped it. This side then goes onto the actual pad of the actual shoe. And all you do is you squeeze it together. And that, as you squeeze it together, lifts this hooks out and pops it out. Brilliant. First time I used them and I loved them. I should have got them years ago. Never knew about them though. They're a snap-on number 131A. That's the model number. Get them. Brilliant. I don't think they make them anymore. Maybe a slight snag. These were second hand, but there was a few online when I was actually looking. So yeah, get them. Now there's a couple of things we need to do. We are replacing the actual handbrake cables as well, and you can see it on the new ones. There's these little legs that stick out, and that's what grips it into the actual plate, the back plate. So what we need to do is get some pliers and actually squeeze them together to push it through the hole. So it can be quite tricky to do this because you need to get them all in. One more. Sometimes a little lever bar, just get in behind and bend it. And there we go. I think. Nope. Still got one more hanger on. There we go. Is that it? Ah. Now we can just pull that out of there for the minute. Couple of bolts underneath, which I'll show you in a minute, and then we've got to disconnect it from the inside of the Jeep. But what I want to do next, I want to take off the cylinder. When you're doing this, you might as well replace everything. It's pointless just replacing your shoes. Always replace your cylinder, whether it's leaking or not. Just do it. Problem is with replacing it, I'll try Well, I won't be able to get you in, unfortunately. Now, these are the cylinders that came, and as you can see, they are way too small. So, and they're slightly different at the back, but you'll get an idea. You've got 2 bolts holding them on. So there's 2, depending on the car, 8 to 10 mil. I can't show you because I just can't get in. Then you have a bleed nipple, and then you have where the actual brake line goes in. Now, the problem is, if they're rusty, the brake lines can snap, and then you have to make the brake line up, and it's just an absolute nightmare. The 2 little bolts can be rusty as well, which is an absolute nightmare. But what the first thing you want to take off is try and take off the brake line. Leave the 2 bolts in, take the brake line off first. Now, I have sprayed WD-40 on these, so hopefully that might have done something, but there's still no guarantee of that. Now, I think, yeah, I've gotten away with this one. What you have to be careful of is the actual nut is spinning and the pipe is staying in the same place. It's not spinning the pipe along with it, because then it will snap. Now, if it snaps here now, it's not the end of the world because I can repair it. But if you're doing it yourself on the driveway, you're mostly not going to have all the brake tools and everything you need to actually repair it properly. Now we've actually cracked it, I'm going to use one of these special tools, and that's just going to clamp the brake line pipe here. Now, don't put this on the metal, put this on the flexible brake pipe. You put it on the metal, you'll crimp the metal, and then you're going to have to replace it. That will just stop the fluid from coming out. They're very cheap, but they're very good. Everyone should have one, without a doubt. Now, hopefully, this will still come out and behave itself. I've had WD-40 on this for a couple of hours, so it's amazing what it actually does. Now, I'm well happy that that's come out, because I tell you, they don't all the time. Now, there's 2 8mm bolts on this one, and what you want to make sure is you get a 6-sided socket, not the 11-sided, because these can cause you problems as well. And the 6-sided socket is going to give you the best chance to get them off. Now, that one's come off quite nice. The other one, on the other hand, is an awkward place. So we'll get a spanner on that, and hopefully that'll come off easy too. Which it does. We've been very lucky with this one. The other side though, that looks the worst, but hopefully I won't have a problem with that. So there's one little 8mm, and there's the other one. This now should come out, and we can see from the back of it a lot better. So on this one, this was the 11mm brake line for the actual brake pipe, and these were the 2 8mm bolts that actually hold it in. And as you can see, here is the brake line. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to clean all this, and then when I turn the camera back on, we'll be taking off their handbrake cables, and then waiting till tomorrow to finish it. It's a nightmare. Right, I apologise about the angle. Hopefully I can get it. We have two bolts, 2 10mm bolts. One is here. Yeah, we can just get that in. Oh. And the other one is back here. Now, I'm not going to be able to get that in shot because it's very dark, but the problem with this one is the bolt sticks up through and there's a lot of muck on it, so I've cleaned the muck off and I've sprayed WD on it, because if you try and pull the bolt down with the muck on, you could end up snapping it. If you snap this, you have to drill it, and it's just an absolute nightmare. So you really don't want to be doing that. What you can sometimes do after you've screwed it down a few threads is turn it round and screw it back up and screw it back down. That can sometimes loosen everything, but once you clear them up from the top and spray loads of lube on it, it should be okay. Yeah, we're gonna get away with this. That's good, because that could cause us an absolute nightmare. Now, oh, the last one, it's not really a bolt, you can't see it. Oh, you can, just there where my finger is. That's what goes inside the car. Now, I can't show you this on camera because there's just no room. But this is what it looks like. This is the connection you're looking at. And this connection goes into a connection inside. It's very simple once you're looking at it. And all you need to do is turn it 90 degrees and push it down or push it up, just depending on your car, and this will then slide out the connection, and then you just put the new one back. It really is as simple as that. There is an adjuster screw up there as well, so you want to make sure the adjuster screw's back before you do this. And the reason you want to make sure it's back is because when you're putting it back, it's easy to adjust your brakes there and then to finely tune your brakes at the adjuster screw. Now that's all I can do for today. I have to wait for the parts, and then we'll continue tomorrow and get this thing done, because it's, I don't know what time it is, really late now. I want to go home, and yeah, see you tomorrow. Right, we're back. Just a nightmare. Anyway, parts came again. We got the new cylinders, but other parts have come wrong. It's just, anyway, just a nightmare. What I'm going to do first before I forget is there's these 6 little contact pads, and you just want to put a little bit of copper grease on them. It just stops the pads as they're rubbing up and down, squeaking, or the shoes, should I say, making that horrible squealing noise. Now, I put on the handbrake cables. Like I said, I couldn't show you, but it's just the 2 bolts, and then that just slots through, pushes through, very simple. The way it works inside, this is the old cable here, you have this little thing. And as you can see, you put it 90 degrees, push it in, and then turn it. And that will then, you have the other cable sticking out there, you have a bolt coming through there where my finger is, and that's what you adjust, and that's what pulls up and down the cable to adjust it. So to take it out, you twist the cable 90 degrees and it just slots out. Very, very simple. There's no room, so I can't show you inside the car. And also you've got this little clip as well. That clips on over there, 2 little bolts, and that holds both cables down. So that's how it works inside the car. But like I said, I couldn't show you that because there is just no room in there. This is the new cylinder. It's the new proper one for it. And what I like to do is take off the bleed nipple first. And the reason is because it's easier to get the 2 bolts on and to actually put the main brake wire in the middle of it. So just line it up. Push it through. Okay, I'm not going to be able to show you, but I'm just screwing in the brake line. Right, again, I'm not going to be able to show you, but there's 2 little 8mm bolts that actually bolt the cylinder onto the actual backing plate. The reason why I put these on last and I take the bleed nipple off is it's a lot easier to tighten the main brake cable with all these out the way. Just put it in. And don't put both of them in before you tighten one of them, because otherwise, if it's slightly off, you won't be able to get the second one in. There we go. So that's the cylinder on. Now what we're going to do is we're going to build the brakes, or we'll half build the brakes up on the bench and then put them into here. Right, there's a couple of important things you need to know. On brakes, they can only go one way. Like this plate here is designed to go in the back. So in other words, you only see this much sticking out. It's not designed to be going this way, otherwise things won't fit. So you need to know, and the easiest way to do it is get your old brakes and match them up with your old brakes, and then you know which is your left and which is your right side. So as you can see, I'm going to try and film this. It's going to be a bit tricky. Hopefully I need to get the camera in a different place before I start, and yes, we'll continue then. So like I said, if you're unsure, you can take pictures of everything to make sure you get it in the right place. A few things you're going to have to be aware of. These springs are very powerful. The spring kit didn't come today, which is a nightmare. It's got lost somewhere. I don't know where it's gone, so I don't know. That's what I've been told. So there's nothing I can do about it. We're going to have to reuse the old springs, which is not a big deal, but I was just hoping to get the fastener, but we've got a little trick we can do with the fastener, so that's not the end of the world. But what we do need to do is take this off without it completely exploding on us. There's a few ways of doing it. We can use our tool, but again, because it's not put in, I don't know, this might not work. Oh, there we go. So this tool, I mean, is just, I love it. I absolutely love it. I didn't think that was going to work because I'm trying to hold this and press the spring at the same time, but you saw how easy that worked there. Now again, if I was putting it back, again, I can't, you're going to have to put it back on the car, but the spring little hook goes in there, and as you crimp it together, it lines up with the hole. It is absolutely a fantastic piece of kit. But it is easier, I have found, to actually physically use it on the car. So what I mean by that is, if you was to put these shoes on the car and bolt them to the car, then put the springs on, that's where this really comes in. We're going to kind of do it slightly different way, especially for putting them on. So anyway, you need to take off that spring. That's the main spring. Pull this to the back, and then we have a little spring down here, which can sometimes, this is our adjuster rod, and as you can see there's threads in here. I'll show that a bit better there. There's threads there, and as you spin out that, it then puts that bolt up and down on that threaded bar there, which then in turns makes this come in or out, which gives your adjustment. Very simple, very clever, and yeah. So what I can do now is just undo this. It's actually seized on there. I'm just struggling to get decent camera angle. It's where it'd be a lot better if I had a cameraman. So what I'm going to do is release this spring. It shouldn't be that tight, but you still want to be careful. So release that spring, and what this spring is for is this holds the tensioner. So this little thing here sits on the little indentations on the bolt here, which stops it from spinning itself. So the vibrations, it won't just spin itself loose or spin itself too tight. It's kind of like a little a lock, you could say. So again, it's important to get that on. But as you can see, this, okay, well I thought it was seized on it, but it's not. Well, actually it is. We need to get this off. That shouldn't be that hard to get off. Also, we need to make sure this spins freely. So the easiest way to do it is put it in the vise, put something in the middle and spin it. I'm also going to spray WD on it. We need to fully spin it in, and the reason we're doing that is just making it easier for when we come to put the bolts back on. We'll adjust it when we get it back in properly, but I just want to screw it all the way in, because it'll just make it easier for us. You might want to just spin this in and out a few times, because you want it nice and free, because if it's not free you're going to have problems. As you can see now, I can literally turn that by hand where before I couldn't. So you want to make sure it's definitely free. It's getting a bit stuck there, so we'll just work the WD in a bit. Now that should be good. So we need to get our brakes on the right way. So this metal plate faces down. This, we need to make sure this here, as you can see, there's two sticking out. So you need to make this is on the top and it's not on the bottom. The brakes just won't work properly that way. So we need to make sure you get both sides the correct way. Then we can just start putting stuff back. The first thing I do, and as you can see, there's two from this here. There's they're two different lengths, and it's important to get them right. And the bigger length goes at the back. The smaller length faces towards you. So it's important to get that right. We also have like a little washer with a special little, I don't know if you can see that on camera. Put my hand there, you might be able to see, it's like these are two little things sticking up. That is designed to slot inside them holes there, so that's important you get that right too. Then this slides in, and that's what makes the actual hole tensioner up. So we need to put that in and put that in that side. Now, and essentially what holds that together is this big spring. Now all I'm going to do is I'm going to put this big spring on here now, and then I'm going to put it in the car, because that's the way I find it easier. I'm not going to be able to use this tool now, because this tool, like I said, is designed, well I could, but if I had someone else to hold it, it's just going to be awkward for me. But it shouldn't be too bad to put in, because I've got the tensioner fully screwed in, and we can actually open these out a little bit like that, as you can see, just to give me, well you can see there, look, I can actually do it by hand, because I've opened the bottom of it out. And now, as you come to push the bottom of it in, you'll see the spring then starts having tension on it. So that's good enough now for me to be able to stick in the car. We've done a few little bits and we just stick it in the car. It just makes your life that bit easier. And now, just carefully put it into place. You have to be careful of the cylinder. You don't want to rip the rubber of the cylinder. Push back the little two ends just so this lines up. Same again with that one. And it is more or less in place. Now, like I said, with some of them, I do like to take this center out because it makes your life a lot easier. But to be fair, now I've got that brake tool, it's actually, maybe I should have done it this way, I just didn't think. I should have maybe put these on properly and then used the brake tool. I've always done it this way is because it's easier doing it this way without having that special brake tool. Because it's a nightmare to try and get this, to push this on and it springs out and it hits your face and it's just fucking horrible. So with that little brake tool, it's going to be easier doing it a slightly different way. But, however, doesn't matter. These little clips back on that hold the brakes. So essentially, these little clips here, the one that we've got one missing, one that I was hoping you're going to get. I would put these on first. Now I've got that brake tool and then put the springs on. But I didn't, so it doesn't matter. It can be awkward. I have to push this in. I'll just show you what I'm going to have to do. This is basically a spring. As you can see, as I'm pushing it out, it's springing back in. So we need to push this together, pull the pin through, and the pin hooks on the top of that end and it doesn't go back through. It's just, it can be awkward depending on the pin. So let's just try and get that back again. Push it. Oh, that was close. Oh, I got it. Don't move. No, you little... Oh, I tell you, the grief I've been having with this. Parts coming wrong, everything going fucking wrong, and now this. Let's try it this way. So push it together. There we go. There we go. Fucking win. I win. Yeah. Fuck you, shoes. So, we don't have one for the far side, but not to worry for the minute. And as you can see, that's really held the brake in nice and easy. So that would mean I can get my tool in then to actually pop the springs on. It's very difficult when it's just flopping around like this. Before we put the second one in to hold this brake down, we need to put the adjusting bar or the handbrake bar on the bottom. Now, if you can remember how seized this was, and you can see now, I can twist that really nice and easy. These can be a bit of a nightmare to get in, because we have to get it in underneath this one. We have to get this in the right position to slot through the slot of the actual shoe. And then also this has to run on top of it. So just get that out of the way first. Try and get this end in first. A bit of a wiggle. Now we've got that end in, simple enough. That actually went quite well. I'm just going to turn this. Now, again, I was lucky with that one. Push that towards me. There we go. Now, what I did there, I don't know if that showed through on camera. We put this end in first. We got this at about a 45-degree angle, fitted it in the hole, and then I pushed it, and now it's at a 9-degree angle, and that's brought it together. That's now, essentially, as you can see, that's locked itself in. So, really handy. What we need to do now is get this up and over that little clip, and also, now this end isn't connected to anything in there, so it's going to be, as you can see, I can pull that. Once that end is connected, it's not going to be this easy to do this, but because I haven't got that end connected, it's going to be quite easy for me at the minute. Now I'm just going to push that through, and there we go. Now that's on, but I'm now going to struggle inside the car. No matter, the first end you do is going to be easy, but the second end you're going to struggle. So if you did this, you'd have to put pressure on the spring to pull this out. Anyway, you're going to have problems with one end. It's kind of as simple as that. Now, once we know we're okay and we're actually in place properly, which we are, just want to make sure. What I'm going to do now is, I would prefer to use one of these pins, but I haven't got one. They need this back. I need it off my lift, the usual story. So what I'm going to use is a bolt with a washer on the end. Now this is going to work. It's going to work no problem. I'm going to show you how to do this. It's not going to affect anything. So for them people who say, no, you can't do that, you're going to do that wrong, blah, blah, blah. Not the way it says it in the book. You know what they're like. You can do it this way. If you have a problem, send me a letter to I don't care, P.O. Box, fuck you. Anyway, so we've got a bolt. Now you need to make sure the bolt isn't too long, which it's not, and it's not going to get caught in anything. That's important. Also that you've got a big enough washer on it so it doesn't pull the bolt through, as we can see. That's a nice big washer there. Oh, my light's just gone off. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing. Now, this is the trick. I'm using 2 bolts. If you've got a lock nut, even better. And all I'm going to do, because this has to move. This, as you can see, has to move. You can't bolt that and bolt it down solid, because then, yes, you will have a problem, 100%. So all I'm going to do is going to finger tight this, just till it's actually gripped. I'm only going to do it with my fingers. Now, that is finger tight. It moves, as you can see, and it's going to do everything, and that's tight enough. But obviously, if I left that, that would come loose. That's no good. So what I'm going to do is get some Loctite, put some Loctite on the threaded bit sticking out, get a second bolt, and lock the first bolt onto the second bolt. And then this will not move, but it still gives you plenty of room to move up and down. And I guarantee you that will last longer than anything of them. It's just these are quicker and easier to do. But I just can't do it on this particular one, on this particular day. So I'm going to hold the first bolt so the first bolt doesn't move. And I'm going to tighten the second bolt onto the first bolt, which will act as a... Now, if you've got a lock washer, a lock nut, you don't have to do this. But I don't have one that size, so I'm just going to do it this way. I should really use a socket. So, just hold it there with that one. Can be a bit tricky. This is why the car manufacturers don't do it this way, because it's a lot trickier. And then just literally, I'm going to get that wedged. The bolt is the spanner is wedged, and I'm going to lock it like that. Now, as you can see, the bolt is still spinning, but both nuts are spinning together. So that means it's not going to come loose. This can still move, which it needs to, but the most important thing is it can't come out. And you have to make sure that's locked properly, because you do not want them bolts coming loose. You don't want anything coming loose. Even if a spring breaks and it comes loose, you know, you're going to cause damage. I can promise you that will work absolutely perfectly. So the people who think it won't. Right, so now we've got all that in, I'm going to loosen off the clamp here so to allow the brake fluid to come through. I still have the bleed nipple here. I'm going to let just gravity take hold, so as soon as it starts dripping, I'll then put the bleed nipple in. It just makes it that little bit quicker to bleed. You can put the bleed nipple in straight away. It's not the end of the world. I just prefer to do it this way, and I prefer to have the brakes pushing on the cylinder before I actually release it. But it really does get some light on the situation. It really does depend on what you want to do. There's no real thing either way. Now, there's just a couple more springs we need to put on. The bottom spring, which holds the 2 bottom ones in together. And again, now with this spring, as you can see, there's 2 different types of ends on it. This end has to go in first, because you will not get that end in any other way. You won't get that end in if this end is in first. Now, I don't know if the camera's showing that, but we're now dripping brake fluid. So I'm just going to screw that into place and just give it a bit of a nip. It's 11mm, just so it doesn't leak everywhere. Now, I can use my tool again. Yeah. Now, so what I'm going to do is hook this Now, I could be, like I said, using this wrong, but I don't think I am. And then squeeze that together. Oh, it is working. I'm just doing it. I'm going to do it a slightly different way, I think, because I'm getting in the way of that spring. So if I just squeeze that together now. Oh. This first time on the other side worked. And now I'm filming it, it's not bloody working. I still love the tool though. This is the operator's fault, not the tool. Oh, that's the problem I'm having here now. But typical, on the other side, I didn't have this problem. What am I doing? Get it there. Just squeeze it together. Oh, just slipped. Last second. I adore these. See how quick that was? Just fantastic. If I was trying to do that with pliers, it would just be, well, I would have got it eventually, but there would have been a lot more swearing and a lot more of that involved. So, one more spring, which we don't need our spring tool for, unfortunately. I want to use it all the time now, but we don't need it for this. Tiny little spring. Hooks over the end of, what's the wrong way? The end of the handbrake cable. We might even be able to do this by hand. The answer is no. Just get some little pliers. Just hook it into the metal plate. That just holds everything together. Also stops that metal plate from rattling, even though I know it's rattling there now, but if that wasn't on, that'd be rattling like crazy. I think that's what it's designed for. I don't think it's to do anything else. Now, we are ready to go. You want to make sure you've got no roughness on your pads. I mean, no grease. You want to make sure you've got no fingerprints or anything like that. If you do, get some brake cleaner, but also a good tip is just give them a bit of a rub with some sandpaper. It just roughs them up, gets some nice kind of a grippy thing. Next thing we need to do, again, I don't know if the camera's going to show this, there's a huge lip on this which is no good. It's gonna make it as hard to put it on when we're adjusting the brakes. So I'm just going to get the grinder and I'm going to grind that lip out. There's no point in me showing you, it's just a grinder. I'm grinding the lip off. Once I've done it, we'll continue. Right, so as you can see now, I don't know if the camera, there we go. There's just no lip. I've just grinded away the rough edge. There's no lip. The discs aren't, the pads, or sorry, the shoes aren't going to be actually on this part. They stick inside here, so it's not essential. Doesn't have to particularly look nice. It just has to be no lip there anymore. Right, I did almost forget to put the adjuster lock on. So this has to go in the hole, in behind the adjuster, and then the spring which goes this way. I've done that the wrong way. You put it in behind the adjuster, the spring then comes in and clips, actually that's the wrong way, it goes this way. So I have to put the spring in behind here, in behind the hole there, and then down on this hole. Hope I'm not getting in the way of this. And again, unfortunately I can't use the new brake tool because it's not really a powerful spring. See, this is why that brake tool's so good, because of that fucking thing popping out. I should really be holding it a bit better than what I was. So try that again. There we go. Still came out. It doesn't matter, I can put it in. I should be able to actually put it in the hole and just push up the spring by hand, because it's not that powerful. There we go. And there you go. Now that's important that that sits on this little the thing, the little adjuster we actually freed up, because otherwise it'll just keep springing back out. And like I said, it stops the adjuster from vibrations just screwing in or out. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing. I'm just my light that I have, I don't know if I'm getting in the way of it. Hopefully it makes sense. Now what we need to do is we need to adjust these brakes. So when this goes on, it only just goes on. And what I mean by that is, as you can see now, that goes on too easy. There's no friction on it. So we need to adjust these until this just goes on. And it can take, you can get it right first time, it could take 10 times. So all I'm going to do is just twist the adjuster. So just got a screwdriver. Hopefully this is coming through. Make sure. So I've adjusted it a few times. Now, also I need to make sure that we get these little holes lined up, because if you get it on right, you don't want to be taking it back off. As we can see, just way too easy again. That's no good. Still way too easy. No point in me filming all this. As soon as I feel it grabbing, I'll turn the camera back on so you know what I mean. Now I think I've got it. It's a bit stiff to go on. You don't want to be having to hit this on with a hammer, but sometimes it can be a bit stiff to go on, and the last, say 5 mil, it goes on really easy and it spins. So you need to get it all the way on. But as you can see, I'm kind of struggling as such to get it on. Now, what I'm looking for, hopefully this is right, because it's going to be quite hard to take off. I'm looking for it to be binding a slight bit. It's just not enough. No, it's not enough. I'm going to have to now try and take this off. Couple of more turns, and that should be us. Now, some of these you can actually get in behind. This one does actually have one, but not all the brakes do. So they have a little hole in the back where you can leave the shoe on and actually adjust it. I'm showing you this way because at least this way you can do every single type of shoes. Now, let's see what that's like. To make sure they haven't slipped. Sure they're in more or less the right place. The rubber is trying to come out of that one, which we don't want. Now, let's see what happens now. Now, I'm just going to give this a slight little tap with the hammer. I know I said you shouldn't. Just the weight of the hammer. Now, I've gone too far now. I shouldn't really hit it with the hammer. That was me telling you not to do it, and I shouldn't have done it. Really listen to myself. What did I say? Don't hammer it on. I can't get to it from that little screw hole for some reason. So I'll have to do it the hard way. Now we need to slacken it. The little hole is there, but I just couldn't, for some reason, get into it. But not to worry, because we have it out. So slacken it off. Hopefully that's enough, because this is now beginning to be annoying. Make sure the holes line up. Too much. Too much. Now, that has to be right. Yes, that's right. Now I'm happy enough with that. It's binding a bit. A couple of miles down the road, that will just burn itself off. Because what happens with brakes is that the corners, the four corners, stick out that little bit much, and they kind of bind the shoes or the hubs up. That's why you want it to be kind of a nice tight fit, not too tight where you can't move it, but just barely where you can, because it makes it easier to adjust, and after a few miles down the road it's not going to be out of adjustment. But you don't want it binding where you can feel the car pulling, so like if the car is on a hill, it should still be able to roll back nice and easy. You don't want it to be binding like that. So that is it. All we have to do is bleed the brakes. Now, I've done plenty of videos on bleeding brakes, so I'm not going to show you how to bleed them on this because I've done loads of them out there. And then we need to put the other end of the handbrake cable on. Unfortunately, like I said, I can't show you that. But all I'm going to do is I'm going to put the threaded bar through. So the threaded bar goes through here like that. The two cables stick either side. And I'm going to screw up the thread on it until the cables have stopped being slack. Then I'm going to lift up the handbrake one click at a time, check both wheels. When the handbrake's locking on, say between 3 to 5 clicks, I then take it up and down the road for a spin, let everything just the corners just wear off, and double check it again. But because we've put new pads and new handbrake cables on, depending on how much you drive, it may be in a couple of weeks or maybe in a month or so's time, you're going to have to adjust these again because things are going to be worn, the cables slightly stretch, so we're going to have to kind of adjust them again. But we can get it quite close today, and then in a couple of weeks we can adjust it properly. So that really is essentially it. That's back shoes, cylinders and handbrake cables. I can only say it is best to replace them all at once. Even if you don't need them, it is honestly best. And yeah, this one, it was quite awkward, but that's just the way they go. And that's it really. So look, hope it helps. Thumbs up and subscribe. Don't forget, check out our shop, our forum and all that. But most importantly, don't forget, get your hands dirty. See you for the next one.